Good evening and welcome to the We Are Rise show. How's everybody doing out there? Thank you for all coming in. Thank you for the applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to see everybody out there. Tonight's show, Davos, EU, NATO, Greenland. The world watches as a new American management Assert jurisdiction. Yes, it's going to be big. It's going to be beautiful. And everything is changing at the moment. Think about the tariffs, which are threats. They equal leverage, the blackmail, the NATO arm twisting, bigger than the island itself, the ice island itself, which is not necessarily true anymore because it's melting, and flipping the script on decades of controlled decline. We spent billions of dollars, all right, maybe even trillions. I would say we'll go through a list of this money that has been paid to NATO that should have been kept in our coffers to make sure we rebuilt them, we supported them, we fed them, we helped them. Enough's enough. You know, President Trump, you know, he stands by Europe because he's Scottish descent and he says all these wonderful things and stuff. And I get it. We all come from some type of background from Europe, white European people. I mean, I'm from Ireland and Italy, and I have a variety of different stuff, but third generation American. So my attitude about all this stuff is that at this point, I can give a fuck about the EU. I can care less about the WEF, IMF, UN, and NATO because it's all being sliced up, carved up, and everything is changing at the moment. Marshall, let's welcome my co-host, Marshall Smith. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Yeah, it looks like I'm kind of turning orange a little bit. I don't know what. Sometimes the different clothes I wear makes it. Anyway, yeah, it was all good.
It could be the background too. I mean, I could change that.
Yeah, don't worry, it's not a big deal.
Okay.
All's good, man. I mean, Trump knocked it out, man. He did it up, and
Right.
got to give him credit. He looks like they're all lining up behind him. So
No, it was a very interesting day. We're witnessing this spectacle of proportionality that hasn't seen since I'd say past World War II, and everything is changing. And I think the Davos power play asserting the U.S. jurisdiction onto these territories in some way, forcing their hand. I mean, look, President Trump has a couple of commentary that he said that he's spoken about forever Greenland. I think that's an interesting commentary that he's put forth. But if NATO really wants to get on board with this stuff, they have to restructure and leverage things out. But he's already dropped the actual tariffs against them. Now, I don't know if the tariffs that they leveraged against him are going to change because they said the deals that were made back in July of 2025, we have to see what happens. So I don't know what structurally this is, but this is a dead man's party. President Trump was walking around with NATO, the UN, the WEF, the IMF on his shoulder as a dead man. We're dead men. He was carrying them around. All right. I mean, think about it in that concept. So when you understand that, he's at this party where no one's going to be still alive. No one's going to be, let's put it this way, after he leaves, everything changes. And structurally, contingently, how much money is going to be proactively, let's just say, reintroduced in this in some way? What if we were to get the idea that the protocols are in place, that if we take over Greenland and stuff, and then we have all the money, the financial capital, and the military construct that's going to be put in place, that helps subsidize if NATO's still alive. Let's welcome in Pill.net, Rumble. How you doing over there? We are on YouTube. We are not monetized out there. Please subscribe, share, leave us a comment. I dropped the link out there. You can support the platform, buymeacoffee.com/wearerise. I put it in Pilled and on Rumble as well. Welcome in Rumble, Nah Dog. How you doing? Metal Mama. Hey guys, how are you? Long time since it's been able to catch up live. And caregiver to my dad who fell ill with cancer. Well, I'm truly sorry about that, but I still catch up with every show. That's great. My prayers and best wishes to your father. Get him some ivermectin, mendabenzidol, fendabenzidol. Go to a variety of places you can get this stuff. I mean,
even get it on Amazon.
Yeah, you can get a lot of stuff there. I mean, make sure your doctors are working to find out, how they can help cure your father. I mean, honestly, there's so many things that are out there. It's so sad. Scott Adams died. Many people are dying that don't need to die. Welcome to Pill.net. Welcome back. Thea dropping 900 gold pills. How you doing, Thea? Davos dipshits got told. Yep. What's up, Trump won? Thank you for the cookie. Wood USA donating 317 gold pills. Let's effing go. Good to see you. Who else is here? Patty B, Senior Polo, retards. Yes, we're all retards. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Trusty Turnip, how you doing? Orange Man Rad. Yeah, Orange Man Rad. We're all orange these days. He's rad. I'm rad. I don't know why.
You're red. I'm rad. I'm whatever.
Well, I'm always red. I mean, the cold weather. What's up? Thank you, Senior Polo, for the can and stuff. Who else is here? Patty B, good to see everybody out there. Yes, hit the bell to be notified when we go live all the time. If you want to help out, hit the red pill. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, and concerns. Help us out here. If you want to help out Marshall, Ko-Fi.com/surfdog74. So we're going to get into, I'm going to break down a lot of this stuff is going to be structurally covering the concept about where we're going with NATO, where we're going with Greenland, and many other things. And I thought I'd lead with this because I have all the other particulars and all the other commentary that was spliced out that Marshall and I will, discuss. But I want to discuss this because this was an interesting thing I found. And I read, like I said, when I do shows all the time, I'll read about probably maybe 100 articles. And I'll go through them systematically and say, all right, how does this play in? Where do we fit with this? And I'll read because I have all these things structured that I could go through. And then every time I read these articles and stuff, all right, where does this play into where President Trump is now? And so what I do is I pick and choose what I think is the best. So I take 100 articles, all right, of this stuff, and then I start to delineate as I go through. But this was a great article that, again, that I would say I will probably drop it in the chat. Collapse of NATO is not only a good outcome of U.S.-Europe spat over Greenland, ex-Pentagon analyst says. For the Europeans, the takeaway from Trump's speech at WEF was, we own you. And that is 100% true. We've been, put it this way, since World War II, we have rebuilt them. We have put money into this alliance. It has, in the last 10 years, it's crept up to close to $8 trillion. $8 trillion in 10 years. 600 billion here, 700 billion here. It adds up. In 10 years, it's close to $8 trillion we have given NATO. What have they done for us lately? That's why President Trump was stymied. He was just basically, we've done enough for you. We've given you blood and treasure. What have you done for us? You might not want to come to our aid when comes Article 5s when we're attacked. He put them on blast. He let them know daddy's in charge and we're going to smack your ass around. Europe right now has a really, let's just say, a very problematic scenario to deal with. On the one hand, they realize, as President Trump has talked about in his caveats today, was that a lot of people were making buku bucks off America's trajectory and the tariffs and everything going on. So they have one of two choices. Either they play ball with the globalist, games, climate change and all that transgender nonsense, or they get on board with the real power, the real players, all right, and they move like hardliners. So because we have done so much for you, starting with winning World War II single-handedly, and Europe needs to appreciate Daddy for bailing you out for decades. Bad decisions, retired U.S. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Karen Kadozwowski says. When push comes to shove, there is no European military capability, material or moral, that can stop Trump from building more bases, installing air defenses, or beginning to mine for energy and minerals, which has been going on for a long time. When you're going to find out very soon that Greenland has a lot of capabilities that were built with, let's just say, nuclear energy that was put under the ground for a time being when the ice melts and to be reactivated. There are other technologies that have been discovered, archaeological, and also that when the ice melts, we'll find out a lot more stuff. That's why the race and the push is now, because a lot of them want to get involved because it's all about money. It's not about covering up in some way. But for some reason, Denmark and Netherlands and some of these countries that are dragging their feet because they want to get paid out. That's what it's all about. And they want to get paid out primarily and singularly for themselves. Greenland or Canadian Arctic. The DOD inside the turned Iraq war whistleblower told Sputnik. Practically only brake on Washington's aspirations is the limit of trust in the U.S. dollar and U.S. debt and deficit spending globally. Europe does have options countering the U.S. non-military, according to Katawaski. This includes reducing U.S. debt holdings, scaling back U.S. weapons and energy purchases, and on country-by-country basis. Keep that in mind. That is an interesting point. Sourcing more energy from Russia and Iran or rebuilding nuclear generating capacity. Should the U.S. succeed in its push to acquire Greenland, the only good outcome would be the collapse of NATO, Kowalski said, stressing that the propaganda of an aggressive imperial Russia has kept NATO on life support up to now. But that, in reality, NATO doesn't work, hasn't worked, and is increasingly seen as a waste for many of its own members. I think that was an excellent illustration. That really puts people on blast to understand that's what President Trump is walking into. That is what he's dealing with, Marshall. This whole thing, it really, the facilitation, the orchestration, and how people look at this. It's not just the IMF, the WEF, the UN, NATO, the WHO. All these global enterprises that basically put a stranglehold on America, choke us out financially, do nothing in return and benefit us. That's what President Trump was stating today. And he's saying, you have one or two choices, because we're reasserting the new management team. The American management team, we're asserting new jurisdiction. And I think that no one is going to get in their way, because he has what? He has all the leverage. Either what? We tariff you to death. I mean, we were saying this yesterday in Thomas's show. You want to pay $800 for Moët, Vuvu Clicquot, that's only like $80, $90 at the store. Oh, you'll pay like 5 times of that. Good luck with that. You want cheeses at $500 a pop? I mean, good luck with all that stuff, Marshall.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the beginning of the end of NATO. It's going to morph into something else. We have that coming later, I think. And anyway, it is the beginning of the end of NATO, and I think they all know it. I think they were up there. I can imagine the conversations that were going on between some of these cucks from Europe over there. So yeah, that's my take.
My calculations is $8.7 trillion over 10 years we have given to NATO. $8.7 trillion. We're almost $40 trillion in debt. And you wonder why we're being bled out like a stuck pig all over the place. And people can't afford this, can't pay for that. And like you see Tim Dillon and many people like, who gives a fuck about Iran? Who gives a fuck about that? No, you should be saying, who gives a fuck about Europe? Who gives a fuck about NATO? Because NATO that's what it is. We rebuilt your cities 10 times over. What have you done for us lately? Zero. Think about they were. After World War II, by 47, 48, 49, they were rubble. Most of Europe in the reconstruction process up until Reagan's time took almost 40 years to get to that point, to rebuild that, let's just put it this way, that something that was smashed to smithereens. You look at cities in America, Detroit, St. Louis, and man, I mean, we got to start over. No one is helping us out. We've been bled out. And it's enough, and it's enough. And I'm so sick and tired of people saying all these other things. It is over. Want a piece of this? Listen to this. President Trump says this.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection.
Piece of ice.
And they won't give it. We've never asked for anything else. And we could have kept that piece of land, and we didn't. So they have a choice. You can say yes, and we will be very appreciative. Or you can say no, and we will remember. So we want a piece of ice for world protection.
We will remember.
That's good.
We will remember. What does that mean, Marshall? What do you think we will remember?
That's a threat.
Well, it's a bigger threat than most people are really kind of just
they know.
You know, I don't think people are really understanding what this threat means. This is something, let's just say, he's basically saying that any country that basically balks at all this stuff, what we're asking for, what we're demanding in some way. In fact, it's that you owe us. You owe us in this way 10 times over. 8.7 trillion, ladies and gentlemen, in 10 years, we've given NATO 8.7 trillion. Metal Mama, funny I mentioned ivermectin to the doctors, and they didn't want to hear it. Go to the wellness company.
Don't
Go to the
I'm
wellness
sorry,
company,
sorry.
contact them, speak to them, wellnesscompany.com. I'm not, they don't support me. They don't pay me. They're not my sponsor, but I do like them a lot. I have ordered stuff there. Go there and say, hey, look, and get some type of counseling, maybe get some mendobenzol, get some stuff, talk to them. If your doctor is not working with you, they're not really helping you. They're basically seeding the death of your father. And my attitude is doctors are like grocery stores.
Well, they're like pharmacists.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
they work for Big Pharma, man.
They work for Big Pharma. And they're making money. I mean, they're making money off the death of your father. Let's be clear about that. And
fenbendazole, a study came out today that showed that fenbendazole really does well. So, I mean, I'm
by
sure
itself or with ivermectin? Was that by itself?
It was
because I saw a study that
it was on Joe Rogan, and I saw a little clip of it. But the guy was showing how the rates were so amazing.
Yeah.
And you can get fenbendazole right on Amazon.
Yeah. You can. You can get it.
Whatever. The other.
Yeah, the Ivermectin and Ben for cancer, Trusty Turnip. Go to, again, thewellnesscompany.com, TWC.com. I like I said, I'm not sponsored there. I like the company. I like everybody there. Speak to somebody there. It's not something to fuck around with, but there are things that are treatable, that are curable. And when I see doctors like this, like your doctor, I want to take a bat to their fucking head. I mean, honestly, because that's how I feel. Just like during that time when COVID, I'm like, oh, have you had your shot? I'm like, how about I fucking put my foot up your ass? That's going to be your shot. No. See, that's how the problem is, because they're not there to really fix the problem.
Right.
Cure the problem.
Yeah.
They're there to just move you along so they can financially
through the system.
Yep. And graze along like you're grazing in a store, opening up candy and all this other stuff. All right. Your cattle. And then its time is up to be carved up. That's the bottom line.
Got to do your own research.
Yep. Trump says he hammered out complex Greenland deal with NATO. This is forever. Let's listen to this because I watched him. President Trump said he worked out a complex long-term deal for the U.S. to acquire Greenland with NATO. Look, when President Trump says it's going to be done, I don't know why people in some way start pulling their hair out and freaking out that nothing's going to be done. Nothing's going to be settled. If he says it's going to be done, it's already done. It was already done before he got there. That's the problem. That's why people are not really just paying attention. People think oh, there's no arrest. There's nothing going on. We'll get to all those things. You're fooling yourself. You're going into the black bill trap.
That's how I was going to start. And say you gave it very compelling in terms of talking about
play a couple
what you've
minutes
done in the first year domestically, but also very compelling in the case you made about Greenland. So I was going to ask you, did you see any of your European cohorts nodding? But I guess I don't have to ask that now because of the news that it breaks very quickly. Can you go into what you just talked about with the NATO meeting?
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal.
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's a kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark Rutte. And he, I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but
the Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's
forever.
Forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
That's staggering.
That's better than a 99-year.
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
I mentioned
Forever?
that you could have come over here
Ever?
and just talked
Ever,
about
ever,
what you
ever?
wanted to. What before you left, I think you wanted to talk about where the progress that you've made in terms domestically with the economy and
Yeah.
everything else in the United States. And you didn't have to talk. I didn't think you had to talk about Greenland, but you're always moving on
Well, I
to the
did.
next thing.
In the speech I gave, I talked a lot about Greenland because we need it for security, and now we're going to have even better security, I think, than I would have had before.
And it
I think that's a really good illustration about where President Trump is talking about. He's not tipping his hand. I mean, obviously, there's mitigating specifics and factors that are going to be involved in stuff, and we're going to know more. But that was a good I watched the whole video. Maybe I'll just drop this in the chat. It was this video was good for media. You can find it on YouTube. What I liked about what President Trump was saying and stuff is that the dome that he mentions quite a bit, he said they'll be under this umbrella. So I'm trying to understand how far expansive is this dome going to cover? Is this going to cover Europe as well, or is it just going to be North and South America and the hemisphere of Western Hemisphere? I want to understand how big this dome is going to go, because he did mention that in some way. They'll be covered under this. So are we obliterating NATO as we see and supplanting a new American management jurisdiction that is going to oversee and replace NATO in some fashion? The UN is gone. I mean, if you think about what President Trump is putting together with this peace table, this group of peace people that now that Putin's going to sign up, and I'll show you that, but, joining this peace plan, nations that are going to sign up, put $1 billion in and sign up to be part of the reconstruction of the Middle East and make sure that they're all necessary actors, live actors playing a role, making sure that the facilitation and the financial gain and the benefit and the outcomes all are weighed on a multinational level that is outside the UN. Instead of paying the UN money, they're paying what? President Trump, the United States, $1 billion to create this peace table, this unity peace plan. It's extraordinary. I mean, think about how much money we've wasted over decades paying into the UN. That's all going the way. You notice how the UN is not even, I mean, it's not even there anymore. No one even talks about it. No one even has a conversation about it. It's almost like structurally it's going to dissipate. And then one day you'll wake up and it's gone, Marshall.
There is also there's a map
Mhm.
that shows the trajectory of the Iron Dome of the missiles where they would go. It's all over Twitter. I don't have a copy of it here, but it absolutely will help Europe with their security, because when also just in plain vision, if you're securing that channel of water that comes down past Greenland all the way down, that's going to help a ton of Europe. That's going to, so I'm sure he went over some of that. His strategic guys probably talked to him and said, look, this is helping you too, brother. So,
No, it's interesting in some way, because I need to understand is that there's certain preambles and stuff, but the way I look at these immediate negotiations that they're having right now, that the Arctic Veil is tearing apart, the idea that everything is being shown, that all these institutions are, let's just say an after effect, the post-Cold War, so to speak, the globalist institutions, they're all dissipating right before our eyes. And it's an amazing spectacle that we're witnessing, that we're seeing the downfall of something that we grew into, realized that these were such iconic scenarios, memberships that really were elitist groups that led and bled America dry. And then many people that were bought into this pavilion and stuff, especially the UN, because I never liked the UN. I think the UN was the biggest piece of shit trafficking organization. They were involved with a lot of stuff. I think it's sad in some way that we've kept this going for so long, but it took President Trump now and his team to really deconstruct, I think, in some way, because they are being broken down. They are being deconstructed, dismantled, taken apart piece by piece. And you're seeing it. President Trump going around at Davos today was basically saying we're reasserting the new global world order, because what we're doing is now we're pushing back on globalism because it no longer exists. What we're saying is that we want nation building. We want individual nation building. We want people to be what? Be responsible for themselves. We want nations, okay? Not groups of countries to coalesce to dictate a policy to us from a financial gain or a financial loss. At this point, what he's saying is he hopes Europe will benefit from this, because he talks about it, that if they don't get their migration, okay, an energy problem, because they're taking loads of it, gobs of it from Russia, under control, like Germany is, then they're going to be in very desperate times. Because one day Russia's going to be like, you know what? We're going to cut you off. A, because of the Ukraine war, or B, they'll just charge them 10 times higher. And what's going to be the fallout from that? They're going to have to find alternative energy sources. And where does that come from? The United States. And that's the point. That is the point of this. And I think that President Trump, again, reasserting himself, reasserting America's position that could be dominant in some way, makes people realize that, hey, look, we really got to rethink this because it's really killing us. Emmanuel Macron, I watched him yesterday with those beautiful sunglasses. What the hell happened? Exactly. What happened to Macron? Black Eye Club? Or did his transgender wife beat the shit out of him?
Emmanuel Macron, I watched him yesterday with those beautiful
Yeah,
sunglasses.
He was in the crowd and he left. He was embarrassed.
What the hell happened?
Look at them all laughing.
But I watched him sort of be tough. But he was at $10 for a pill. And I said, Emmanuel, and I have all the big
Emmanuel.
pharmaceutical companies are in total agreement. It wasn't easy, by the way. They're tough, smart. They've been getting away with this scam for a long time.
But that's the bottom line. That's it. He takes his marching orders from big pharma, big tech in some ways. I don't understand why Macron, I don't know what's going on with Macron in some way, but Macron is basically losing his power. Probably next year he'll be deposed. He'll lose his position in some way. I'm not saying he's going to resign, but I think what President Trump is saying is that the power vacuum that is forming inside of France or inside European, let's just say, groups, all right? The EU in itself is splintering apart. It's being deconstructed, broken down, where there's going to be, let's just say, right-leaning, conservative, independent nations that want to take a foothold of their country before it gets out of hand and before it becomes, let's just say, untenable. And France is one of those countries. Great Britain's another. Starmer's done. We'll get to Carney. Marshall, your thoughts?
Yeah, the whole thing with Macron. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, he took his monthly beating from his wife, their routine or something probably they have going on.
I mean, I'm
No,
not going to get into the Black Eye Club. the
Well, yeah,
conspiracy of
it's silly.
I mean,
But wearing those glasses was really
it was
weird.
almost embarrassing.
He would
in
have been
some way.
better off just
Can you
going up
imagine
there.
Trump wearing fucking aviators
Yeah,
and speaking? He would never do that, you know.
He would have been better off just putting reading glasses on and just go with it.
Yeah, he wouldn't
Yeah.
even do that because when you wear
Well, no, I
glasses,
mean Macron would have been better.
no, I agree. He probably would have had a better chance of doing, and then and saying, hey, look, and have the glasses where they're not tinted, but what's where you can get them?
Bifocal one.
Yeah, no, not bifocal, but you can get them where they change color.
They change the color. Yeah,
the transition, and I think
transitions.
that would have been a perfect
Nice
for him
name.
with the transition. Yeah, hey, I got transition glasses for a transition wife. I only see her in this light at a certain way, and then I see her in this light. I mean, that would have been perfectly set up. Ooh, that would have been good.
Ouch.
So Eric Daughtery put this up. President Trump eviscerates the globalists to their faces in Davos. He's holding nothing back. Yes, he is not holding anything back. If you watched any of this stuff, which I have all day today, I have so much stuff here. Everything that we're seeing that is systematically being broken down. The UN, you're going to wake up, the UN has been dismantled. You're going to wake up that NATO has been separated. The EU is the key. You got to break up the EU or put them into a stranglehold before you can separate NATO. Because there are going to be certain allies that are going to want to partner with America that are going to be outside of the EU. And when Germany gets a new prime minister, I think that's going to be one of the countries that is going to signal a new path. Maybe France with new leadership.
Very foolishly followed, turning their backs on everything that makes nations rich and powerful and strong. And there's so much potential in so many nations. The result was record budget and trade deficits and a growing sovereign deficit driven by the largest wave of mass migration in human history. We've never seen anything like it. Quite frankly, many parts of our world are being destroyed before our very eyes, and the leaders don't even understand what's happening. And the ones that do understand aren't doing anything about it. Virtually all of the so-called experts predicted my plans to end this failed model would trigger a global recession and runaway inflation. But we have proven them wrong. It's actually just the opposite. In 1 year, our agenda has produced a transformation like America has not seen in over 100 years.
Because we're cutting off the money. We're cutting off all the inroads to NATO in some way. President Trump is leveraging. Now, he dropped the tariffs, but all the stuff that was set up between June and July by the EU and President Trump, because they basically said that deal is over. And the question is, are they going to work this out? Because I can guarantee if the EU decides that, hey, look, that deal is over, we want a new deal, then President Trump's going to be like, no problem. We'll just charge you 150% on tariffs, and then we'll single each country out in all these different ways, and they'll come back to the table. And that's it, because this is the key. The Supreme Court will come back and say that President Trump's tariffs are working. It's legal. It's tender. It's fine. It's good for negotiation. And then we don't need a court or the representatives of the House or the Senate to tell President Trump how to economically negotiate deals all across the world. I mean, the idea that we get back to the Article 1 powers in some way. And, President Trump needs to really, I think, focus on the idea and explain to people when he comes back home, because he's going to go on a launching pad all through because of the election year this year, the midterms. He's going to go out there explaining all these deals and how they affect us. And I can't wait to hear how Greenland and how the Iron Dome, how all these other things, because we're going to find out what really is going on with Greenland, because there's so much more information that's out there. I think that is kept quiet and private and clandestine that is going to come out. It's going to spill. And I think people are going to see what the big deal was about this, Marshall.
Yeah, I think there's something more up there. We know that there's a lot more up there.
Mm-hmm.
It may start with Greenland, but that may be the launch pad, for lack of a better term, to get us up into that Arctic, deep into that Arctic region where we've got all kinds of mysterious shit that we've literally been blocked from the public.
Well, that's the key. It's not just blocked. We've been blocked. We've been blocked from having access that, if you go back to World War II, we were defending this, this ice island per se, from the fall to we don't know what was created back then. We don't know about the transients of before NATO was started, but the allies that were there participating, the Brits, the French, many other groups that were working in tangent, what we did prior to that. We don't know about all the clandestine operations, all the underground bases, all the installations that were created. We don't know any about all that stuff. I mean, we haven't heard anything about it. I mean, it just kept quiet. We hear all suspect talk, all theatrical talk, but it means nothing until we actually can get there. And then we have people really explaining to us what is the purpose, what is it about Greenland that really leads to something greater. Let me say hello to Curious One. Thank you for the cookie. Awesome day. It was a great day today. I think that if you think about it, we are now back. American management is restructuring the jurisdiction in our hemisphere. We're retooling everything from North America to South America. You're going to see a lot of great things that are going to happen. Thank you, Thea, for the cookie. Senor Polo for the can. What do you say for 317 gold pills? Thank you so much. Let me continue on and stuff. Listen to this. And I think this is another thing. President Trump, I invited Putin and he's accepted. Trump states that Vladimir Putin has agreed to join his board of peace. I mean, the idea that people like, well, how is it possible that he can join the board of peace? See, this is the whole thing. You know, he was part of the G8 before it became the G7 with them taking over Crimea. But, you know, this is how they position and play games. President Trump is open to everybody to be a part of this. You just have to contribute $1 billion, and that $1 billion goes into the what? Reconstitution, financial rebuilding, retooling, maybe the Middle East, Gaza, what have you. I mean, that's just one area. We haven't even talked about Ukraine and what's going to come out with that. But when you think about this, why would a journalist be so off the cuff and say, how can you have him be on the board of peace? He's a monster. I mean, think about it. Do you think there's anybody on the planet that are not monsters in their own way? And I said to you, you know, when I had my show on Monday, I said, you know, the only way to save America, we're going to have to be the monsters we despise, the tyrants that we hate. That's the only way that we could save this country, because you have to show people what we're willing to do, what we're willing to sacrifice in order to achieve that outcome.
If you're worried that Putin would do something like that, why invite him to join your board of peace?
Because we want everybody. We want all nations. We want all nations where
All
people
nations.
have control, people have
He
power.
wants to replace the
We're
UN.
never going to have a problem. This is the greatest board ever assembled, and everybody wants to be on it. But yeah, I have some controversial people on it, but these are people that get the job done. These are people that have tremendous influence, and if I put all babies on the board, there wouldn't be very much. So he was invited. He's accepted. Many people have accepted. I don't know of anybody that hasn't accepted. But it's going to be great. I think the Board of Peace will be the most prestigious board.
She
ever,
mentioned
and it's gonna
Macron.
get a lot of work done that the
Macron said no, but Macron's going to be out, so it doesn't matter about Macron. And that's why he revealed the text messages that he had and the pillow fight that they had, you know, 2 nights ago or the last 24, 48 hours. He wanted to show Macron is weak, ineffective. And he wanted to put them on blast and NATO to embarrass him, because he's already been embarrassed for many different ways. And he's going to lose his time as a leader for his country very soon, Marshall.
You know, it's really interesting, and we've talked about this a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned a while back last summer that they're going to be they are our greatest ally, and that Putin is right up there.
I think
And
so
then,
too.
in the way that the media tries to say, like you just said, he's a bully. He's this.
Well, they're
he's
part of
what
the
would-"
problem. They're part of the problem, and they're going to be part of what? The
media, you
disintegration.
mean?
Yeah. The media. Well, that's going to be part of the process when we go through Minnesota, the Insurrection Act, and all these other different things that are going to take place with the 16 city-state fiefdoms that
Right.
are controlling a narrative, that are cartel controlled, that are under the umbrella of a certain organization that are sanctuary state. And I think they're all going to be flummoxed. They're all going to be overturned. President Trump is setting the stage. After he leaves Davos, everything is going to be on the table for America. And I believe that after his speech in February to the House of Representatives, to the Joint Assembly of Congress, the State of the Union address, what is it, February something? Mid-February, like 25th, 24th and stuff. That's when shit really goes out of control.
I want to add about
Yeah, go ahead.
Putin also is that the media people are starting to see that the media tries to vilify Putin.
Yeah.
Here he is being one of the first people to be offered a spot. And I've got a thing saved for Friday. You may or may not use it, but it's an interview that I saw today of Putin. And I'll mention one of the things they asked him, well, what do you think about Greenland? You know, the media is trying to jack him up, get him all worked up, Putin. And what do you think about Trump trying to get Greenland and this and that and the other? And Putin says, that's none of our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, doesn't that say a whole lot about Putin?
Right. I mean, the idea that this whole facilitation, this whole, let's just say, coordination about getting control of Greenland. You notice how China and Russia are not even they're not even intersecting, cross-secting,
Not
getting
complaining.
involved. They're not even really getting involved in this stuff because all this stuff has already been allowed to, let's just say, unfurl out, because the fact is this benefits China and Russia if NATO is, let's just say, desegregated in such a way. And maybe so. But this would also lead to some type of what? Arbitration for a peace process. Hence the name, the Board of Peace. As this Board of Peace continues on, and you have more seats that are going to be filled with people that you're not going to like. Netanyahu, you're not going to like Putin, Xi, all these people are going to sit on this Board of Peace. They're going to be representative, putting $1 billion in. And all that money goes to where? All these different enclaves to rebuild. All these different areas where infrastructure needs to be redone. And also to what? Permanently reset the table, the imbalance that wars have plagued these regions, where tyrants and warlords and all these other monsters that roam these countrysides are going to be settled. And I think in some way, this is a really good idea. You're not going to give it to some legislative body anymore. The UN is going to basically go totally
It's going to
broke and,
replace the UN.
yes. This is not the League of Nations or the Super Friends or something in space. We're talking about
Super friends.
we're talking about a large S table where many people with many different backgrounds are going to be set. The table, and there's only enough seats at the table to be set. So you might as well want to get on board to look like you want to help rebuild these regions. Put up $1 billion. That's what he's asking. And the money goes into these accounts to pay for the reconstitution, the reconstruction of many different parts of our world all over. And I think this is a beautiful thing. Thank you, Senor Polo, gifting the ship. Trump is transactional. He will work with anybody. Exactly. That's the point. That's the point of this body of peace, or this world body of peace, or this board of peace.
Board of Peace, yeah.
Exactly.
It have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they did. It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It's a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections.
Can't have rigged elections. No. People are going to be prosecuted. I believe so. And we're going to see it in real time. Why would he say that at Davos? Because the people there, Marshall, there are many people that were probably involved with stealing the election. Europe, the EU, Mexico, we could say Venezuela, many different brokers, Germany. There are many different bad actors that were there, that were a part of removing the Donald. And so Klaus Schwab, he's no longer there. Larry Fink, whatever you want to think about him, they were a part of it. And he's basically scaring the shit out of them. Because this is really going to be an expose, not just what took place in the United States, but what took place outside the United States that helped take us down, help basically bifurcate and steal an election that maybe NATO allies were part of. Maybe the UN was part of. Maybe the IMF, the WEF. Think about that. And if you are put on blast, and information will come out and will spread like wildfire, not just through the United States, but ripple through the world. These institutions will go away very soon, very quickly, because Americans, real Americans, will not flummox for this nonsense. They will basically say, fuck Europe and burn. They will say, fuck this country and burn. Fuck them all and burn. There'll be people hammering, stammering, clamoring for independence, basically saying we need to go isolation. That's what's going to come. There are going to be people, we need to break away. So I think that the entrails of all this stuff that President Trump is saying, he's already setting up, he's basically giving you the end of the book. Okay? He's giving you the conclusion of the book as we look at it and we watch it now. He's saying that all these countries are going to dissipate and break away because of the outcomes that are going to be followed through.
Yep, and I said
The
it
prologue,
Monday.
the prologue. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I said Monday night that when he goes and does his speech, he's going to pull Minnesota into this whole deal
Mm-hmm.
because these bastards that are up there, probably most of them were involved one way or another
Mm-hmm.
in all of this stuff. Because it's not just here. This is coming from.
Well, I think that's it. That he's stretching this out. He's saying you, EU, IMF, WEF, UN, you were all involved.
Yep.
We're trying to take down a presidential election in favor for, and this doesn't particularly stop at 2020, ladies and gentlemen. You have to consider 18 and 16. You have to consider that how many people were invested in Rotten Box Clinton. You have to go back to that time. But it wasn't until the executive order was signed, the 13484, on September 8th, 2018. Think about that time frame as we move forward. Whether it's retroactive or not, it's irrelevant. How we go forward, because President Trump thinks forwardly. Think about 20, 22, 24, and here we go now with 26. How many people were still invested and still involved, still divested? I think ultimately the fallout from all these things is not just going to be America per se and learning about who was involved inside our country. It's more about who was involved and paying people outside our country that was what? Interfering with our election. That's straight up treason, and anybody's involved should be hung, shot, murdered, killed. I want to see firing squads. I want to see people hung. I want to see people hung. I want to see these monkeys in fucking, what do you call it? They stole the election of Minnesota. I want them hung. The balloon heads, pop their fucking head. Put them in a fucking container, drop them in the ocean. Let the great whites chomp on some dark meat. I'm done with all this stuff. This is just the beginning. You're seeing the middle of the road. He's telling them at the EU, at the Economic Forum, at Davos, we know that you were involved. We know certain players and actors were involved. And you know what? If you don't want me to tell you or expose you to the world, you give me Greenland. He's using leverage, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. France,
Go ahead. Yeah, because this
France,
is a good point.
England, and Germany were definitely involved.
Mm-hmm.
Big time, especially Germany.
So if you don't want that information to get out, and he's basically saying, you give me fucking Greenland, and you know what? This goes away.
We got it because of Venezuela.
Right. But here's the point. If you found out that, if this was exposed to the world, how many institutions would crumble because of this?
Mm-hmm.
American people were demanding that we hit France, we hit England, we divest ourselves from Great Britain,
Germany.
We take over Canada. I mean, that's a good point. We basically just, we all we do is basically all we do is like subsidize Canada. We might as well just take over the capital, move in. We own you now. You know what? If we don't give you any money, you collapse. Come to us. We'll give you a loan. No, surrender, and then we take over. I think in so many ways, how you have to, posture this, and how you have to give some type of deference. You have to look at this in some way. If this information was released, how many countries would be destroyed? How many, let's just say, NATO would be like undone overnight. WEF, UN, people would be demanding in the streets, it's over. We want, we'll be demanding a second revolution, a third revolution, not a civil war. We'll be demanding a revolution from NATO. We'll be demanding that we divest ourselves 100%. Do you think Trump wants that completely? No. He wants to what? Leverage them to make sure they understand completely where they are at this world, and a new American management team is coming in to clean up an aisle 7 rectal bleeding. It's ugly. Canada gets a lot of freebies from the U.S. They should be grateful, but they're not. I don't want to say Canadian people are scum, because I think they're good people. I think that the bureaucrats, the people that sit in these administrations per se, are basically come out of the Bank of London as Carney and many other Brits and stuff, and they destroyed many different, let's just say, avenues. They have allowed so much criminal, illegal immigration through China and Muslims. They basically wholly bankrupt the soul of this country. Almost 90,000 people have been murdered by this soft sell idea that we can slowly just improvise the idea that if you don't want to live, we can take your life because you're uncomfortable. I mean, the idea that they have lost their identity and their way, it's embarrassing. But I don't necessarily blame it on the people. But if they've been fooled enough and stupid enough to, basically surrender and commit suicide because that's the law of the land now in their country, well, then they get what they deserve. And here we are.
National and international security, and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay, is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature, going to be defending Canada. Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way.
Yeah,
They should
there
be
you go.
grateful also, but they're not. I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful. They should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statement.
You see how soft-spoken he was?
Ouch.
I wouldn't be so
Ouch.
soft-spoken. He should have been like, basically, you know what? Without us, you'd be nothing. He's not doing that. Yes, the carry the big stick scenario and stuff. No. He is basically speaking very softly. Remember next time you need something from us. Remember next time what's going to take place. Once we have Greenland, Canada's going to surrender in a lot of different ways. I think eventually we will overtake Canada and Canada will be absorbed into the United States. Yes, I think so. I think it will happen. It's not about the 51st state. I don't know how this is going to take place and whatever, because we're no longer going to be their baby mama, the daddy, the black daddy with the white mama, not paying child support. We're not going to have that shit. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're no longer going to what? Allow them to suck off the tit, just like the IMF, the WF, UN, and NATO. They'll be part of this whole institution where I think these countries will consolidate. And I think that this will be I think today, Canada is on notice that you will be forced to consolidate with the United States as a North American territory because, let's put it this way, systematically, the Crown has walked away from them financially. The Crown has walked away with them legally. I mean, I would argue right now that why is Ottawa so close to the border of the United States? You can make arguments of why Canada is, let's just say, deeply entranced with us, and then yet this information has not just in the last, let's just say, several years of President Trump's administration has come out. Yes, Alberta, yes, the rest, no. I'm not saying that, but if we take over Ottawa based upon our Iron Dome scenario, you don't even know what Iron Dome is going to be, Trusty Turnham. I do believe in some way that the Iron Dome will have certain prevailing viewpoints and controls and mechanisms. And if you don't want to be on it, you have to defend yourself. So anybody that's on it or under it will have to follow the new American management directive. And I think that's where it is. We are becoming what? Not the new NATO, but we are basically realigning, retooling people that, hey, look, you can have your own groups of people over here. We can have our groups of people over here. But as for North America and South America that will be under our domain, you don't get to tell us. And I think that's why Mexico, next stop, baby. Watch Shinebox. Watch that Shine Bomb crawl down on Tide mattress, bed sheets, rolling out at the window at like 3 o'clock in the morning. She's dipping out. Yes, she will. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, Trump did what he did right there was a soft close.
Mm-hmm.
It was a soft, easy close. But underlying it was a lot of harsh truths that they all know in the back of their minds. Oh, God, if I don't go along with this,
Yep.
we're fucked. We're fucked,
They had
man.
no choice. That's the point.
Yeah.
Let's listen to the rest of this.
For national and international security, and to keep our very energetic and dangerous potential enemies at bay, is this land on which we're going to build the greatest golden dome ever built. We're building a golden dome that's going to, just by its very nature,
Listen to this.
going to be defending Canada.
Listen.
Canada gets a lot of freebies from us, by the way. They should be grateful also, but they're not. I watch your.
The point is, you need to recognize in some way what that means. If you're going to be under our protection, okay, you're not an ally. You're a protectorate. We are there to defend you. You say thank you, and we give you what you want. That's the point. That's the premise. That's the predicate. That's where we're going. We're utilizing our dominance and spreading through the region, that if we're going to be the big dick walking around with the big stick, swinging around, controlling all these avenues where we're not going to be putting money in, we're going to be doing for us. And anybody that wants to be under that umbrella, you will have to what? Surrender to us. Give us what we want. And what is it what we want? Your land, your economy, other things. Join us, and we will make sure that you don't have these problems going forward. But that's the problem. Canada, like France, like Great Britain, are part of the old globalist networks, and they're basically being destroyed by the illegal immigration. Those three countries, in some way, are being broken and decimated. Canada, I believe, will be the first to come to in the United States to be under our protection in some way. Once we force upon them to remove all the illegal rot and scum that should not be there, just like we're doing in the United States. That is part of the phase out of that country. You want to be a part of this? You remove all illegal people that are not Canadians. If they're not Canadians, they can't be there. And we're not going to allow open borders, illegal immigration, and all these other things, so that it would permeate and also in some way lead to a problem at our northern border. And I think that's where we're going with this. I think it's coming to an end, Marshall. I think it is. We have to be very salient about how we look at these things, because in order to fix our problems first, we have to show people how we're doing it and use that model as a contingent base so they could be utilized in their own countries simultaneously. And I think Canada will follow.
Yeah, I think Canada is going to be a shoo-in right after Greenland. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, Mexico would be following suit after that. They're going to have no choice, Brett. I mean, we're running these people out of our regions, out of our hemisphere, and that's it.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't like Quebec because they're the French Canadians. They're the worst ones.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's
You
going
know
to happen
about
with
them. You know
Quebec,
about
but I mean,
I
that's
know.
going to
I'm just making
that
a
will
joke.
fall
It'll
under.
all come in. It'll all.
It will all come in, and whether they like it or not, if the province of Quebec, the governors and the people that run it, they could easily dip out and say, we'll just
leave.
basically leave. Montreal, they can fall and leave, and then become destitute, go back to France, and it's over. It's over for them, and they'll have no protection, no quarter, because they'll be that snooty, snobby stymie that they'll basically say, fuck it, I don't really care. Listen to President Trump. We got to move forward.
Make your mission in Greenland. I made that very clear. Why are you disrespecting the president and you? We have a great relationship.
Why are we disrespecting?
To step up.
You're so disrespectful of Europe and the UK, sir. Why?
No, I'm not. But they have to change their ways, or they're going to.
Why? Trade with your allies makes no sense.
They have to change their ways, or they're going to die.
If they don't change, bad things will happen to them.
If they don't change immigration and energy, I think in some way they're going to die. Well, I mean, obviously they get their energy from where? Russia. And the migration problem, they don't want to deal with. So President Trump put this out. We're just going to move forward. I'm not going to do any commentary. I'm just going to move forward to some subject until we get to other things. President Trump stuns the world announcing tariffs canceled. Trump is happy based upon a very productive meeting that I had now with Secretary General NATO. Mark wrote, we have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. It's fantastic. I got more to go as we move forward here because I got a fast track. I got other things I got to cover. I'm just going to skip some articles in some way. The Axios article about Greenland, I'm not worried about it too per se. Basically, it is we don't know enough right now about what's taking place in Greenland. All we understand is that There are certain provisions that are going to be granted to us or given to us in some way. I would expect that Greenland will eventually be, let's just say, under our umbrella, under our control, under our, let's just say, protection. And so it's not really that the land per se is owned by us, but most likely it'll be under a protectorate state that we control it, that we will utilize it, we will manipulate it, and we will bend it to our will for the sake of the people that live there, and then make sure that we can prosper from it, we can expand on it, and then how this relationship with Denmark, the Netherlands, has a dual relationship, and there's some type of benefactor in there. But my attitude about how I see about this is that, you know what, too fucking bad, Denmark. Too fucking bad. We paid $8.8 trillion, 7.8 to $8.8 trillion over 10 years. You owe us. You owe us nothing. You're hundreds of millions of dollars a year to what? To do nothing to help these people in Greenland. Fuck you. You stuck IUDs up their fucking up their twats to make sure that these people could not reproduce and give them cancer and murder them. You destroyed them. You were the true colonists, the murderers and the rapists. And so when I look at Denmark and the Netherlands and stuff and all these other supposed white third world country, they don't really care about realistically bending the knee. They're all about their own, let's just say, belief. They want to murder off these people, kill off these 60,000 people, nuke people, what have you, on the island, so they can make sure that they can replace them with their white European colonies. But yet they blame America for wanting to take over and giving them health care and helping them out. Europe couldn't help them, doesn't want to afford that. They're the true racists. The Denmark, Netherlands, Finland. Think about those. Those are the true white racists. Those are the true nations that remain loyal to or complicit to during World War II, that surrendered to. They weren't there fighting on the sides necessarily for America or Great Britain or Russia. They all played what? Soft. So when you want to look at America and call Americans racist, call Americans this, Americans that, maybe you should start looking at the entrails of the Eastern European bloc and look at who they are and what they do to native indigenous people on colonist lands. Let's
Maybe
continue.
send the Somalians to Denmark.
Yeah, breaking Finland president. This shows you how hypocritical and I would say that they're liars. Finland's president Alexander Stubb is now attempting to walk back a statement at WF that Europe can defend itself. Europe cannot defend itself. Europe is a bunch of fucking liars and thieves and grifters, elitists. I fucking hate these countries.
Queers.
Imagine. Yeah, and you know what? Fuck them. Fuck them and die. They are going to pay the ultimate payback in so many ways. Wait till we take over Greenland and you find out what they did to those native indigenous people. It's not going to be pretty.
A direct answer to the question of this panel: can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Oh,
Without
you
the
can
Americans.
defend.
Without the Americans,
We don't
I mean,
need America.
Well, look,
You've said earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down,
that's not a quote.
Yes, it is a quote. You lying cocksucker. This is how it is. They have it both ways. They think they can get away with it. They think in some way they could say one thing, do another, and it's okay. And then when he realized that what he said, he had to walk it back because, you know what? You're part of NATO. When the United States pulls out of NATO, you got shit. You got nothing. You got zip. In fact, President Trump's going to look at this and say, wait till we fucking dip out. Wait till we basically cut you and bleed you dry. You might not be under our dome, our financial dome, where $8.7 trillion was poured into the restoration, reconstruction of Europe since World War II because of NATO. And then you want us to say what? And then to be like this? Fuck you and die.
more
You're
or less.
laughing.
Let's.
We'll go back to the transcript.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the
More or less.
transcript. Yeah.
More or less.
Got him.
You're a douchebag.
First,
Look at that guy.
What a douchebag, Marshall. What a fucking
Would you
douchebag.
trust your kid around that guy? Look at
Yeah.
him.
I know.
He looks like a straight up pedo, man. Total child diddler, kid diddler.
Here we go. Here's the comes from C3 on this is where I get the numbers. $640 billion. Look at it, 16. If you add this up, that's 1.2, 1.3, 1.3. So that's about 3.3, 7, 8, 1.5. So about 4.5. Then you got 8, 1.6 right here, almost 1.7. That's another 4 to 5, 9.9, 1.8. That's another 6 to 7, and 980 billion. We're talking $8 trillion, ladies, and it's close to it. It's about 7. When you add it up, it's about 7.9 to 8.1 trillion dollars. America's always been robbed, and this is why I said to you all the time, "Fuck NATO, fuck NATO." NATO has to come down, just like we sit here and say the Fed Reserve has to come down. NATO systematically has to come down. So all the black pillars that are out there, where is President Trump going here, blah, blah, blah. Because you fucking idiots have no clue, no understanding, no wherewithal of understanding what the EU is, what the IMF is, what the WEF is, what the UN is, what NATO is. It's a systematic, clandestine syndicate that bleeds us dry. That basically that you bitch and moan about why our property rates are high, why our interest rates are high, why is this, why is that? It's because of them. And until you cut them and gut them and splinter that, that's how you fix America. You can't just do one thing and say, oh, we could do all these things and tariff them in some way. You have to systematically go at them and gut them. You have to take them on and gut them. You have to realign this. You have to take control of this, and you have to bury them. That's the only way we can walk away from this and then reassert ourselves without really leading ourselves into World War III and destroying every opportunity of making something anew. Think about that. That's the point about new American management, assertion, and jurisdiction. We're taking control about how we see our hemisphere, how we're expanding. Anybody wants to be under this model, we are going to do it. You want to be a part of it, you pay us, not the other way around. Because over the last 50, 60 years, blood, sweat, tears have been stolen, given away, murdered on the altar of what? Oh, think about terrorism, Iraq, Afghanistan. Enough's enough. You know what the number one country now is on the list for the worst corrupt country? Made number 1, Somalia. Number 2, Sudan. Number 3, Afghanistan. Think about understanding where we got to go to restructure and how these people are in the United States. It's not just moving these people out. It's about realigning, retooling our infrastructures, our financial motivations, and a capitalization about changing, I think, in some way, a predominant viewpoint on about who is really in charge of America. Do you understand that? President Trump is systematically cutting ties with them. He's telling them, we are no longer going to be your bully pulpit. If you can't defend yourself, well, then come over to us. We'll defend for you. But we're not going to pay into your fucking mess for what?
Right.
For your steal, for your grift. So your elites can drink $10,000 of champagne, eat caviar to your heart's consent, live in socialism and Marxist colonies, and then And then ditter and allow the mass migration and tell us that we're racist, we're this, we're that. It's over. It's over. It is so over, and I love every minute of it, Marshall.
And the thing is that NATO was their club that we paid a membership into.
Exactly.
Now the Board of Peace is our club. It's
Right.
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to pay into it now.
It's a good illustration, I would say, a representation of what you're saying, that it's our club, but your membership fee will go to, I think, in some way, the cleanup of the mess that they made in some way. And I think there are only so many seats at the table. So it's a good illustration. It's a good example about this is our club. This is what we're doing. If you want to be a part of our club and join us, because we're leaving the UN, they're done. We're leaving NATO, we're done. We're basically separating ourselves, even though the Senate gets to ratify these treaties or gets to unratify them. But we don't necessarily need the Senate. We could basically say, you know what? And President Trump and his administration can go for it. And with the new election, if we have one, and you can basically pull the blue slip away, you could make sure that we pull the 60 vote scenario. The idea that we can basically come back to the going back to retooling this in the future to say, hey, look, we need to step away from this financially as we move into another thing. We could just stop paying into it and it would just die on its own. We wouldn't necessarily need a 60 vote majority. Okay, the filibuster nonsense. We wouldn't need it. We would just basically say, we're done paying and it's over. These countries would separate, bifurcate. They would go on their own. They would actually come to the board of peace and say, Mr. President, we want to be a part of this. I just say this. NATO treated the United States of America very unfairly. Yep.
NATO has treated the United States of America very unfairly. We never asked for anything. We never got anything. We actually took care of the needs of NATO for years and years, which I felt was always unfair. So I got NATO to pay because they're rich countries. But I think it's time that NATO step up. We're helping them with Ukraine. Without us, I think Putin would have gone all the way. I think we have it. I think that could have been a World War III, if you want to know the truth. If Kamala was elected or Joe, any one of those, those thinkers, I think you could have ended up in World War III. And I will say Steve Witkoff has been dealing incredibly with, but we're not going to have World War III. We want to get it stopped, but we're not going to have World War III. I think if I wasn't elected, I think that could have evolved into World War III. It was a very, very bad situation. And it still is, but it's not that kind of bad. It's bad because so many young people are being killed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Look, it's got to come to an end and stuff. The idea, when is it going to come to an end? I always said that, it's going to dip out. It doesn't matter that Zelensky, I don't even really care anymore. I'm going to fast forward this because I
like the way he called Kamala one of those thinkers.
Well, he's basically saying that they're all part of the unthinking class, so to speak. It's that, I just want to move on with this and I want to get into our next subject matter and stuff. There's such more, but here it is. The situation in Minnesota reminds us that the West cannot be mass import foreign cultures. We have failed to ever build a successful society on our own. Yes, we need a white culture. We need some type of reinvigoration, a new enlightenment, a renaissance of white people, white cultures, white Europeans, white nationalists, all across this world as we dump and throw out, shit out the brown and black scum that have rotted this country for decades. I'm serious. We need to become go back to a more situation of what we were 20, 30 years ago. Brett, that's racist. Absolutely. It's great. Look what we have. We've seeded our own fate. We've reduced our population. We've allowed the monsters to roam the countryside, murder, rape, and kill our women, children, everybody.
We need to be like
rob us blind. We don't need more brown and black people in this country. We don't. We don't need to import them. We have enough here that we have to deal with for various reasons. But we need to fix this type of system that's broken, and we need to re-engineer a whiter, better, stronger population that will basically take us to the next level. Because these lower tiers of low acumen, low thinking, low IQ people, they're parasites. They're not there for you and I. They're there to suck off the tit, to feed. They don't want to work. They don't want to fucking do this. They want to do that. They're garbage. They're garbage humans. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's the truth. And when you realize the potential or the potentiality of a certain race or certain group of people, we have to stick by this. Because I think America is going to move back to that position very soon.
But equally importantly, we're cracking down on more than $19 billion in fraud that was stolen by Somalian bandits. Can you believe that they turned out to be higher IQ than we thought? I always say these are low IQ people. How did they go into Minnesota and steal all that money? We have, they're pirates. They're good pirates, right? But we shoot them
They're
out of
good
the water
pirates.
just like we shoot the drug boats out. They're not pirating too many boats lately. Do you notice? When they go out into those boats, they want to take over $1.5 billion tanker loaded up with oil. And they say, we're going to blow up your boat. They have powerful weapons. You hit the side of the boat, you blow the whole thing up. The insurance companies are petrified. So they say, just give them the boat. We'll give them money instead. And I don't do that. We blow them right the hell out of the water. We see them going out. We blow them out of the water. We don't have any pirates so much anymore. If we do, they won't be there long. We've cut down with the hitting of the boats that are loaded up with drugs, including submarines. Can you believe they actually buy small, they call mini subs, very fast. They're meant for drugs. We've knocked out 2 of them. The Democrats say they were fishing. You have ruined somebody's fishing weekend. I would say a submarine is not a fishing boat. You don't fish. But we've knocked down drugs by water, the oceans, the sea, by 97.2%. Think of that. And I actually say, who the hell are the 3%? Because I would not want to be piloting one of those boats. We knocked them down, and now we're going to start on land. We're going to knock it all out. The land is the easy part. What we did on sea is incredible, and that's our great military. The situation in Minnesota reminds us that the West cannot mass import foreign cultures, which have failed to ever build a successful society of their own.
That's it. You can't mass migrate or immigrate or just pick up a bunch of corrupt, stupid pawns, put them in Minnesota or Ohio, Oklahoma, Washington, third world scum, no acumen, no education. But somehow they learn how to be part of the corruption, grift, and graft because they were trained. They were educated how to do this. And that's the only thing they know. That's the only thing they know. We have a large contingent of white women of a certain population, certain demographic, that are orchestrating and facilitating, being paid. Many other groups that are going to be, they're all going to be picked up. They're all going to be arrested. They're going to be in a database. We're going to find out who these, let's just say, coordinators are, directors, chieftains, masterminds, tacticians, whoever is conducting this orchestration inside of Minnesota. They're all going down. They are. But I would say, again, that Sudan, Somalia, Afghanistan, third world nations, nations that are shitholes, we should not bring these people into this country. President Trump is about winners, not losers. He's not going to pick loser people to come in this country that we have to what? Be their benefactor, that we have to hand out dollars all the time to support. You need white European people, white South Africans, white people in general. We need to make sure that we build up this race a lot higher as we get rid of the many brown and black people in this stuff. And I will say this, Hispanic people, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, they're hardworking people. There are many brown Americans in this country that are legal, that have come here, that have worked hard, worked multiple jobs. There are many people that are black Americans that do the same thing. But the reality is importing people of the same type of, let's just say, shade of color from the worst of the worst, who don't speak any English, who don't have an idea about what it is to actually work, don't understand the culture, don't understand the language and stuff. All you're doing is what? You're misrepresenting the real representation of America, the brown and black Americans of this country that are being pushed down, that can't get a job, that can't work, that can't do this because you're importing the worst of the worst so you can use them as models, as slaves, as grifters, as couriers to rob everybody else blind while they blame everything on the white man. It's enough. I'm done. Done with it all. We have to recognize the reality of our situation. Moving into other subject matter. I gotta go this because we're losing time and stuff. Let me just say thank you, Thea, for the 300 gold pills. One Thunder for the can. Thea, for the donating 600 gold pills. Prosecute. Fuck yeah. Senior Polo for the ship. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the red pill. It's always important. Like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the platform. You want to help us out? You can help out marshallkofi.com/surfdog74, or you can buy me a coffee. .com/wearerise. Getting into this. So President's trip was abruptly turned around. I don't know if anybody saw about this, but I watched it last night. And, there's a lot of speculation in some way that this was sabotage. I'm not saying that. I don't know this to be true or not. I've seen a lot of insular discussions about this, but what I'll say is that there's not enough information. It was almost like that they landed back, and then he had another plane ready to go, and then that plane was up and ready, and it was more about him getting there or not. But the question is, what were these minor electrical issues? After taking off, the Air Force One crew identified a minor electrical issue out of abundance of caution. President Trump and the team will board this, but, there's a lot of people that said a lot of things that were, off kilt. They didn't make any sense. Air Force One was forced to return to Joint Base Andrews shortly after takeoff. The crew experienced minor electrical issues. Well, the whole cabinet went black inside. It went dark after takeoff. It returned out of abundance of caution. Air Force One, which President Trump recently boarded, headed to the World Economic Forum. Look, here's the U.S. government's motorcade seen on the interstate racing lights and sirens to Joint Base Andrews near D.C. after Air Force One turns around. I'm not going to play it. President Trump, so I'm going to Davos and stuff. President Trump, so I'm going to Davos. I believe it'll be a very successful trip. The trip is also off to an interesting start with President Trump being representative. Safe travels. May God bless you. There are many people that are suggesting. I saw that the White House secretary, basically press secretary, come out and said, maybe it's possible that we're flying on a plane that's from 1987 that replaced the plane that was like in the 2000s that had electrical issues. Maybe we need that plane, that cutter plane that was donated to us, to be outfitted, refitted for the new possibility of this scenario. Was this some type of big hurrah to suggest that, hey, look, maybe we need to take this cutter plane, outfit it, retool it? I think we're going to do it anyway. I don't think anybody's stopping us in any way. But I think they're putting this on blast that these planes are outdated, outfitted, or I think it's less about terrorism in some way, more about showing that the planes have been outfitted. We're flying planes from 1987, 1990. I don't know what the plane that was on President Trump was, early 2000s and stuff. It's almost embarrassing in some way that we're supposed to be the greatest nation with the greatest wealth, and that we can't get planes, that are part of the 21st century per se, that our president flies on. So was this something as an example to showcase why we need to proliferate more of an expansionism regarding and pushing forward, the idea about taking on this plane, outfitting it, refitting it, and making sure that new planes are being rebuilt simultaneously? I mean, is this part of this, or is this something else, Marshall?
It seems like it's almost a way of humiliating the people that want us to continue to have our president fly around on a plane from almost 40 years ago or whatever. I mean, it seems like that. And it also may have been a quick, there could have been a lot of things involved, but that would be a good point. I would also say that it could have been, they just planned this and just said, you know what, we're going to turn back and get the other plane as a precautionary security measure.
So you're saying the measure was real, the threat was real, and then we had to do something about it.
It's either that, or they just wanted to highlight that we shouldn't be flying our president in a plane from 1987 or whatever.
Well, that's what they actually took on the new C-53. That's what they took, where the other plane, I think in some way it's like, or we have to go through the process of scrapping these things, retooling them, making them more modern in some way. What is the plan of action? I think that there's something there that was actually set up. It's a narrative. And I think that it was overshadowed by President Trump's trip. When you really think about it, his destination, his plane, had issues. So I will be watching him coming back in a couple of days simultaneously to make sure that we're staying on the path. So here we go. Scott Bessent calls out, man, this is a brutal takedown. Billionaire sugar daddy Alex Soros. He calls down New Scum. Holy crap, Scott Bessent just pummeled Gavin Newsom at Davos. To me, this was one of the highlights that I've seen. I've never seen any of a takedown from a governor and basically destroyed his opportunity. I mean, he just basically went to ham on him. Listen to this.
I think it's very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris.
Patrick Bateman, a narcissist serial killer from American Psycho, and then he calls him the Beach Barbie Ken, the guy all groomed up, blah, 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 stupid idiot tool simultaneously. So he puts him on the spectrum in between. Either this guy's a psychopathic, he's like Ted Bundy. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's putting him on the spectrum of. It's just glorious that how he actually relegated those two types of narcissistic attributes.
He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros. And Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry. And I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Thank you very much.
Let me know.
Wow, that's massive. And basically that just destroyed any opportunity for him to gain any ground as a 2028 contender. Because when you just look at this is the Secretary of Treasury. And think about how insular he is. I'm not saying he's connected to the Fed in some way. He is representative of something much more greater and such big. He's basically putting him on blast that economically, financially, he destroyed the state of California. And then everything that he portrayed him as this good-looking psychopathic like a Ted Bundy that lures his victims in and then covers up the bodies through all these other things. It was just glorious on how he actually fed the press about alerting him of what this guy is, what his character is. And, Newsom was very alarmed about President Trump and his speech. Newsom said that he's a T-Rex. He either devours you or he mates with you in some way, which I thought was a very odd thing. And he very looked like he was on something or off something in some way, but he got destroyed tonight on multiple levels. And does this set up for this? Because the people at Davos that were willing to back Newsom in some way, because that's how it works, they're going to think twice about it now, knowing forward that you have the Secretary of Treasury say, hey, look, you want to make money? You want to be a part of this? You want to be a part of this new enterprise that we're creating and stuff? This guy, you need to stay far away from him. Don't take his calls. Don't be a part of him. Don't donate money to him and stuff. Let the other people from the old globalist regime, as this deconstruction happens on the Davos EU-NATO watch, it all falls by the wayside. And I do believe that a lot of people that are going to be running in 2028 are not going to be able to get this type of fervor like people think, like Newsom, like Kamala Harris, and many other people like Butt Boy, Buttigieg. I mean, all these people that are planning on running and stuff, I think in some way, 2028 is going to be glorious and stuff. There'll be new contenders in there. But I have to tell you right now, after finding out that vice president is going to have another kid, or his wife Usha is pregnant. Congratulations, and I wish them a very happy and healthy baby and stuff. You're going to bring in what, a fourth child or a third child, maybe 2-3 years at the time. If you're going to run for president, that's kind of young. It's kind of young. That's kind of young. I don't know what the timetable is. That's still younger than Kennedy in some way. I mean, is he going to have enough? I mean, they're going to have enough. I mean, honestly, look, after how President Trump has been just giving a diatribe on just how the greatest diplomat of Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is in some way. I mean, is this all a faux pas? Is this misleading in some way? Or is this just giving his time to pass, so to speak? His Shangri-La, so to speak, his swooning effect as the administration ends is that this guy is not going to run, even though he's a great diplomat. What are we looking at right now? And do you think that in some way that Vance is really going to be the nominee when 41% now support Marco Rubio to run? And you think, will he dip out, Marshall?
Well, I want to go with Newsom. I think he was somebody got him to go there.
Mm-hmm.
He was convinced to go there when he's not even a national player. He's a governor of a state.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody convinced him to go there so he could get demolished.
Yep.
It seems like it was almost set up for him to go and they canceled.
He got destroyed. He got destroyed.
They canceled his speech. They wouldn't let him talk.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got destroyed. I'm almost thinking this whole thing might have been set up. I feel like it was set up, man.
It could have been. Someone convinced them to go there and say, hey, look, maybe it's a good idea that you go there, you look at this in some way.
And all of a sudden they'd be clown you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just the thought. I mean, why else he's a governor of a state? What the hell are you doing up there?
Right. All right. I got to move on. I want to get out of certain things. I don't want to talk about. All right. Moving on. Got to move forward. So, a lot of the discussion I had yesterday on Thomas's show and on Monday with us is anybody being arrested? What's happening? What's going on and stuff? Well, here we go. National Post, radical charge with an unhinged threats to kill Trump, ICE, MAGA. I said yesterday on Thomas's show, you're going to see the National Guard come in, not necessarily on the Insurrection Act, but on some emergency order per se, to protect the buildings, protect the infrastructures, to protect ICE, and maybe clean up the cities per se. But look, I've been saying this right now. You're going to see a lot of pop-offs. You're going to see people shot. I'll cover what happened in L.A., in Compton. What a shocker there. So, I mean, you're going to get bloodshed. You're going to get people thinking that they're too brazen enough, too big enough that I can repel borders and nothing's going to happen to me. And that's the whole argument about this. So an Oklahoma man was federally charged with threatening to kill Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. MAGA Republicans, President Trump, and YouTube comments. Who was involved? Taylor Ryan Prigmore, 30 federal prosecutors of the U.S. Department of Justice. The comments were posted between May 9, 2025 and January 17, 2026. Taylor Ryan Prigmore has been arrested, federally charged after allegedly posting threats to kill U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement agents, MAGA Republicans, what have you. I think that, people saying that nothing is happening, nothing is going on. And I think that a lot of people are really just waking up to the idea that more and more of these things are going to kick off. Let me show you this, because the DHS secretary was on Newsmax and said this. I think it's just a matter of time. By the end of the month, I mean, you heard John Solomon say that by the end of the month, we'll start to see all these ticks hiccup up in some way, that all the people that were involved with this church thing, that were involved with blocking ICE and all these different facets, that were basically refusing gas or anything else. If you go to a gas station and they refuse you gas or water or any of this stuff, state laws, you could sue them. Federal laws, there are federal laws in place. If you were refused gas or refused any type of hospitality or whatever they need in some way, whether you're ICE or not, you're just basic citizen stuff, not only you can sue that gas station and that employer, you have violated federal law. And a lot of people, you're going to find out very soon, has done that. And I'll show you some pictures about this. Listen to Secretary Noem.
A remarkable thing. They're trying to protect his parishioners.
And even the parishioners, I imagine, have felt and feel intimidated. And
they did. And there's going to be arrests in the next several hours, Greta. There will be arrests tied to that. And people will be brought to justice for how they violated the law in that situation.
Well, Don Lemon is a journalist. And so I thought he was going. And so when I first saw it, I assumed he was going in as a journalist covering it. I mean, I go into bad place and ask questions all the time. But when his comment about the white supremacy all of a sudden made me think, well, maybe he wasn't there as a journalist.
Yeah, well, Greta, not only that comment, but the fact that ahead of time, before this even happened, he said that he had conducted some surveillance before they went into this church. He identified individuals that were going in with him that were activists in the work that they'd done in the past. The fact that this entire situation was then posted on the Black Lives Matter website, all of that is something that they're going to be responsible for.
Well,
so this nigger, queer, faggot, pole smoking fucking bitch takes up the ass from a white boy, was planning this attack at a Christian church. He didn't want to go to a Black Baptist church because he knows that, bigger dicks would come out and beat the fuck out of him. He knows at mosque, he would probably be murdered and hung. Jewish temples, they would take him out too. And they have security. So when you really look at it in some way, he's going to get what he deserves. So there are arrests that are happening. You have Secretary Noem. You have the actual Justice Department saying that's it. I don't know about Harvey Dillon and all these other things. I know there's another infrastructure behind President Trump that they're going to move in with military and JAG officers in some way. I mean, again, how this is actually being dispelled, not quietly, but I think it needs to be, let's just put it this way, it needs to be in your face. You need to see how ugly these arrests are going to be. And I have no illusion at all that people will be shot, people will be killed, that will be American citizens that are being paid. And you're going to see something I'm going to show you that are being paid from foreign actors that are there to use subversive and seditious tactics. So if you take money from these people, you're a traitor. And so the only thing you deserve is a bullet in your head. I don't care if you're a white female 30 with a kid or you're a fat fuck that's like 65 years old, 70 years old, boomer. I don't really give a shit. I don't care what race you are, what color you are. All right. If you are taking money from foreign actors outside the state, outside the country, you are being paid as provocateurs, agents to what? To incite this type of physical violence, to just say proliferate this type of decadence and this abuse and violence, to create or basically foment this stuff. You deserve everything you get. I would prefer to see you hung live, but shot live on TV would be great. I honestly, I don't have any illusion of that. The idea of thinking that, American citizens that are there utilizing the First Amendment rights, when in fact, all they're doing is violating federal code and assaulting people, attacking people, hitting people in some way, that they get a pass because that is exactly how we should view the First Amendment. Again, I'll state that once their First Amendment rights end by assaulting me, that's when my rights activate. And I have to tell you right now, there are many laws in place in many states called Stand Your Ground that are put in position to make sure these types of scenarios don't happen. But federal officers, federal law enforcement officers, ICE, National Guard have immunity. So what are you going to sue them about? What are you going to sue them about? When you're going to come at them, you're going to shoot at them, you're going to try and run them over and expect that they're not going to retaliate and kill you in the process. And then you're going to want some, what? You want some fucking Jew bagel lawyer to help sue them and the American government? Like what? Like an OJ defense? Come on. Stop with that. You know it's not going to play out. Because if you did that in Florida, the state laws were in place. We run you over. We shoot you. Hell, I get out of the fucking car and beat you to death with a fucking baseball bat you got in my fucking way. You try to hurt me or my family. It's no different. These people have a job to do, and you want to threaten ICE officers, federal officers. You want to shoot National Guard after what happened in D.C., good luck. You think they're not going to be watching that after what took place in D.C., Marshall, with 2 National Guard officers that were shot, 1 killed? You think they're going to allow that this type of, we got to have a moniker of like, we got to slow it down a little bit. We got to make sure that we don't really be trigger happy. You're going to tell that to them when you see this level of violence increase in some way. I look, this is an OK Corral scenario, ladies and gentlemen. People are going to get shot. People are going to get killed because what I've seen in the last week, it's only going to escalate because it's escalating from one side, and then the other side has allowed this to continue and perpetuate. Take pictures, control data, control phone logs. So whoever's not going to be arrested, that's going to be left holding the bag, look out.
Yeah, and the thing that's going to happen next is the people out on the street that they're harassing just because they're wearing a camo shirt or they go fishing and they're wearing certain gear, and they blame them being ICE people when they're just like country folk, whatever.
Right.
They're going to start finding out that maybe they're going to, people are going to get hurt. And the good guys are going to pull out a gun and they're going to protect themselves.
Well, the argument about like what Thomas was saying yesterday, he had the article from altmarket.us, go watch it. And he was talking about, it's like, hey, should we have a Christian conservative movement in there right now? I said, no, not with the ice storm that's coming, number one. Number two, with all the uptick in violence, you don't want to be there. You want to get out of there. And if you live there, I would stay home. Don't get involved with this stuff. Because once the troops drop in, they paratroop in, or whatever is going to take place and stuff, there's going to be martial law. They're going to arrest the governor, the mayor, some people in the city council, maybe people in the police force, many other agitprop propagandists and scumbags and thieves that were involved with this stuff. I'd stay far away from it and let everybody else get whatever. And you know what? People think, well, how many people were killed in the LA riots? Go look it up. People were shot by National Guard. The Korean mafia killed a lot of black people trying to loot their places. So we're not having the looting per se. That's a good thing. I think what it is that this is a targeted attack on federal law enforcement. All right, as the police stand down, that they've given way to these people under some type of scenario that they think it's okay to attack federal law enforcement officers that have direct mandates from let's just say court orders, or executive orders, what have you, to think that they can get away and attacking and throwing water on them. All these things. Border Control Commander Greg Bovino denied service at Speedway in Portland Avenue. I'll say this, Speedway, look out. Look out, Speedway. You might have some type of criminal referral against your company. Asked at the commander if this is illegal, and cashier said, I don't care if it is. So this monkey that was behind here, who doesn't like police officers, Black American, don't care. He doesn't care, but he doesn't understand the law and stuff. It's federal law. You cannot deny people services at gas stations, at any type of facility, a municipality, in these types of things. Look under, it's not just state law. There's federal law that you cannot deny service to people, and this falls under the Constitution and many other things with the civil rights or what have you and stuff. But again, not coming off Martin Luther King Day, you have monkeys telling ICE people and other they can't come in there, they can't buy water, they can't buy this, they can't get gas. Speedway, you better put an end to this, by the way, because you become speedless and you're going to lose a lot of power. It's the same thing with Hilton and Hyatt and all this other stuff. Don't come back here, huh? Look at this monkey.
Do you work here? Do you work here? Yeah. You guys kicked him out? Yeah. What's your opinion on it? Why'd you kick him out? Okay.
We don't support ICE. Nobody here does. Neither do I.
And so he's not allowed service here.
So this monkey, is basically going to be begging Somalians for a job because he's going to be fired by the corporate Speedway. And also, there's going to be federal law that is going to be actionable for what he has done. He's violated the civil rights of these people, but there are also codes in place, state law and federal law, regarding these types of things, because we don't know what he kicked them out for. Did he kick them out for gas, buying this, using the gas, all these different things? So you have a lot of prevailing arguments about, because in Florida law, if you deny people gas to go in there to utilize gas or purchase something in some way, water, what have you, because that goes on their certain hurricane codes and stuff, you could be arrested, you could be fined. So this monkey basically thinks that, hey, look, I want to take the place of a Somalian so I can get my cut because I'm no longer work here. I'm not going to make any more money. I might as well find the best way I can get some capital on. And so he might as well just be looking for a job with a resume at another care kid facility because he's about to lose his gig. Let me continue.
Commander Bavino, is it legal to deny service to federal agents?
Notice how he didn't say anything.
If it is, our president don't care.
Monkey, let me tell you something right now. You're going to be fucking jobless very soon. And hopefully you'll be homeless because you deserve everything you get. What say you, Marshall? These people don't learn. They don't learn, and they're going to learn the hard way.
No, it's just let them. I think that Bovino, the chief guy, I think he did the right thing by not answering the question.
Because he's purposely setting them up. They're
Yes,
recording
absolutely.
them. They have cameras on. Do you see the camera pointing at that monkey and all the other people there and stuff? Hey, I don't fucking care. I'll say monkey all I want. It's not racist. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Whatever that fucking thing. Who gives a fuck? Fuck these people.
Monkey, you know? I mean,
fuck these people. He's going to be jobless very soon. You think Speedway is going to want to keep him when the lawsuit's coming and when they violate state and federal laws? You think that guy's going to have a job? Yeah, apply at the zoo. How about we just put you in there with the other fucking gorillas? No one's going to fucking care. See, stupid is as stupid does. Again, you think that your right to protest denies people their actual right to what? Get gas, buy and purchase and trade goods. There are laws in the books that says you can't do that. And under Civil Rights Code, what you're doing right now is saying you're purposely targeting federal officers because they can't buy water. They can't buy anything. They're not allowed to come in there. It was remember the monkey said, it's my decision. You know, throw him a fucking banana. Here's my decision. It was perfectly recorded and captured. I guarantee you the Speedway Corporation will be making sure that fucking guy, his head is on a platter. And fuck him. And so you know what? Fuck him. Yeah. Forrest Monk. Fuck these people. Look at this. Throwing food on them. Putting in them. Absolute disgrace. They still think they can get away, and they're recording all these people. You know, they don't have any clue. They have no clue what's coming to them. They're going to be a knock on the door. They're going to be snatched in the middle of the night. They have no idea how many laws they have violated, that they obstructed and absconded. They are going to be pissing their pants. And everybody should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. They should be. All right? You got a family? Well, that family's fucked. You're the only mother that's there to raise the kid? Well, maybe some extended family, because that kid's going to child services. You need to go to jail. There should not be any carte blanche. We should not extend them some type of capacity, like, oh, well, I made a mistake. No, you were paid to be there, to assault, to attack, to offend, to abscond, to obstruct, to what? All these things. Hamper, block, thwart, foil, coordinate, do everything you can to break the law. And then you're asking for forgiveness like the rest of us can get some type of justice in that matter and beg for forgiveness if we're pulled over for something? Why do we expect that these people should or need or have to get a pass? The only thing they need to see is a fucking cell and actually prove once and for all how they're going to be dealing with the fact is this is what happens when you commit seditious, I would say levels of treason, but we'll just leave it at seditious, subversive acts against the United States of America. You need to be told, you need to be shown, just like you did to January 6th, just like you went to Mar-a-Lago to arrest President Trump, just like you did it to us, to the grannies that passed by the dumpster. in Washington, D.C. You picked up and arrested, just like you did the Tina Peters. You all need to pay. You all need to pay. And the bottom line is simply every single one of these people, I hope they fucking suffer. I hope they suffer. Maybe some kill themselves. I don't really care. Your families, everything that has been done will be destroyed and will be put on blast. And we'll make sure that we'll spread this out to everybody to make sure you're an embarrassment. You're a traitor.
Yeah, and all these people that Bavino was around at that Speedo, whatever the hell they call it, whatever.
Speedway gas station.
Okay, all those people, what they don't realize, including that dreadlock monkey, what they don't realize is all during this they're being filmed and they're being geo-tracked. So all their cell phone data, everything from everybody.
That's why he shut his mouth. That's why he's laughing. He had a smirk on his face. He got You see the camera right there? The camera's looking right at it, and you hear the monkey say, well, our president doesn't care. Like, this monkey made a decision because he's the manager. He's in charge in some way. You're not going to have a job, bro. Sorry. You might as well beg the Somalians to do some pirate thefting because that's the only job you're going to have. What a fucking fool. What a fool. So the unearthed affidavit shows anti-ICE Minnesota church disruptor previously arrested near White House. Think about this. I showed this on Monday, but, Thomas and I covered this on Tuesday on his show when he invited me on. This guy was seen harassing not just D.C. National Guard troops near the White House, but there was an affidavit and other things that he was arrested outside the White House after screaming at families in line for a tour. So this guy has come out and said, come and arrest me, come and get me in Minnesota. So Kelly faces 2 disorderly conduct charges for allegedly harassing officers. Why is he not in jail? I mean, the White House tour in December, calling Nazis, yelling, fuck you. During the incident, Kelly heckled officers, yelling traitors, asking, how does it feel to protect the pedophile? Kelly also screamed, you're a Nazi. I mean, honestly, just take a bat to this fucking guy's head and break his neck. I mean, that's the only way you fucking fix this problem. Because if you can't keep him in jail, you can't do all this stuff. Bygones leave bygones. I mean, let's settle it on the mat. When asked to stop because there are children present, Kelly replied, fuck you. Guy's a piece of shit. So here's the fucking affidavits for Kelly, for Scott William Kelly or William Scott Kelly. He's got major issues. They're going to come after him. They're going to arrest him. I got to come down here and stuff. He was released after pleading not guilty on January 6th. Released. He's scheduled back March 11th. You think he's going to show up? Of course not. Kelly's attorneys did not immediately respond. Oh, he's got attorneys. So where does he get the money from? Participating in left-wing mob. So this guy is a guy, a paid provocateur, propagandist. He is there as an incel, a violent offender. He is there to, again, cause this type of disruption, this chaos. He's part of the mastermind and tactician and conductors of this systematic, let's just say, takedown of interference of all the stuff that's happening. And so when you go after this guy, you need the full level of the law to hang around this guy like a noose to make sure this guy doesn't get out. I mean, when is it that we just, why do these people be able to just walk out of jail? There's no bond, there's no nothing. There are people committing murders and rapes all the time. They just they post bond and they get out. All content created by Daily Mail, the Foundation, independent, nonpartisan newswire service. They're basically saying, look, this is what we're hearing from Attorney General Pam Bondi, is that it's not just that and Harmeet Dillon, that this type of, let's just say, people that are operating inside of Minnesota right now are basically travelers, paid travelers, no jobs. They are there. They are there to what? Thwart, foil. They're part of this system that moderates, that maintains and controls paid provocateurs to systematically attack federal agents, and it's going to come to an end. That's what you're going to find out. Where all this stuff is going to lead to, Marshall, where this stuff is going to hang around, and these people need to pay a heavy price. Whatever they're going to be charged about, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be charged for or with, but it should be greater than those who served definitely a horrible injustice during January 6th, and many other people that were just picked up outside through the FBI. I want to see these people pay a heavy price and not get off because they turned state's evidence or they ratted out the fellow people to save the rest. I don't want that. Just because you rat out doesn't mean you need to get a deal.
Yeah, you know, there's a video of this guy actually being followed by our side from the other night, asking about him going out drinking and all this shit. And why are you following me? He's all scared. Oh, really?
Yeah.
This guy is going to have his ass handed to him big time.
Oh, yeah.
It is coming for this guy. I mean, he led that whole deal in that church.
Yep.
I mean, it's really disgusting. I cannot wait to see this guy go down. He's a complete scumbag.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. The second part of this whole thing, watching people be arrested.
Yeah. Oh,
and they're going to be arrested when the National Guard comes in, because they're not going to just send troops to go after these people piecemeal, or they might go to wherever they're stationed at, whatever hotels they're hanging out, whatever slop houses they're out, whether dirt slop, whore houses, whatever places the group think is hanging out in some way. So here we go. Slay News. Federal agent opened fire on a California illegal alien, weaponized his vehicle to ram law enforcement. Don't tell me that we're not going to have deadly violence very soon. We're going to have a shootout. We're going to have people trying to run people over. National Guard comes in. You think it's going to be clean, swift? It's going to be absolute and profound? Well, it should be all three of those things, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be clean. You're going to get pushback. You think these people that are being paid to do this are going to walk away and get them on camera and allow themselves to be arrested? They will fight, they will attack, and they will injure, maim, and even try to kill. So I just keep that in mind. In a dangerous attempt to evade arrest, the criminal illegal alien weaponized his vehicle to ram law enforcement. We've been seeing this multiple times. It's spreading. You could tell. That's why Minnesota is now, I think, the hot LZ at the moment. It is. It is. Right now, it is the hot LZ. You need to freaking bring in the troops, not necessarily Insurrection Act per se, but I think in other variables to not only get control of the city of Minneapolis, shut it down, arrest the mayor, and then arrest the governor, and then have federal agents move through, sweep through, where they could be logically and logistically protected, because the police are not going to be, let's just say, motivated. They're going to be there contingently on the background. They're not even going to be involved. You might even arrest the police chief. You might arrest certain people in the police force. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know where. I'd like to see that.
I think Dearborn is on its way next, too.
There could be.
It's going to be Minneapolis and Dearborn.
Yeah.
These places are going to be exposed hard. Minneapolis is, I think, is ground zero there right now.
Right.
And there's a ton of our people up there, as we talked about on Monday night.
All right. I'm going to just do a couple of things and then we're out of here. I want to show this in some way because I don't think anybody is listening to this. Listen to this.
You've recently obtained these documents over at the White Coat Waste Project.
I'm only going to play a little bit. I'll be right back.
The threat that a bioagent, which apparently is classified as potentially posing a severe threat to public health, has been either stolen, which says theft, loss, or release. What are some of the details behind this concerning story?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brianna. You know, since we first exposed Fauci's funding for the Wuhan lab and Beagle testing in early 2020, White Coat Waste has been following the money to Fauci and the NIH, and also trying to hold him accountable and erase his fingerprints from the federal government. Unfortunately, a lot of the programs that he set into motion during his 40 years at NIH are alive and well, and there are entrenched bureaucrats at the NIH, holdovers from the Fauci era, who are preventing more progress from happening under President Trump. Now, we recently, last week, exposed how Jay Bhattacharya, NIH director, just gave another $2 million to a new bat lab being built at Colorado State University to provide animals for infection studies, both at Colorado State and, as you mentioned, the Rocky Mountain Lab. Now, the Rocky Mountain Laboratory in Montana is run by Fauci's former NIH division, the National Institutes for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and it's very infamous. Rocky Mountain Lab is where ticks were weaponized with NIH and DOD to spread Lyme and other diseases back in the 50s and 60s.
Has anybody heard this? This is some scary stuff. They're planning on another pandemic, ladies and gentlemen.
More recently, White Coat Waste exposed how a couple years prior to the pandemic, the Rocky Mountain Laboratory was cloning coronaviruses that Peter Daszak and the Wuhan lab were finding out in bat caves in Wuhan. They were cloning those viruses at Rocky Mountain Laboratory. And then these are the same viruses that the Wuhan lab was doing gain of function with and putting spike proteins in around this.
Wow. I'm going to leave it at that. Marshall, wow. Have you heard about that? Have you heard anything about that? I was researching that to see if that's real. That is totally real. So are they planning on a next pandemic? Is it possible that they're trying to do it? Will they actually cultivate that and manifest that? I'm not really sure. I think there are provisions in place if something got out. I know that in certain states there's measles and all these other things that are outbreaks and stuff, but nothing is really permeating through the media, because I don't think anybody wants to go through another fake pandemic at all. And I think that everything is being blocked in some way where this type of scenario, but it does really, should concern you that these types of protocols are lapsing in areas where biological viruses are getting out, are being stolen, that are being, I don't know, parsed out somewhere into the ether. It is very disconcerting, and I'm skeptical. And the fact is that how far this goes, but I imagine that there are protocols in place to track and trace it. But again, I'm not really sure. Here we are right now with this, with a lot of changes that are happening, doesn't necessarily mean that some type of biological attack could not happen. I think it's going to, I'm less likely to think that, I'm thinking it's more of like an EMP, a radiological of that level. I think they already, they shot their wad with the biological. So I think that game is over and no one's buying into it. But again, putting this out is more of fear publicity or fear porn per se.
What I can't understand is why this is allowed to continue to go on.
Right.
This type of quote scientific studying and all that. The other thing I would say is just stay healthy, just eat healthy, do your protocol, follow your ivermectin, whatever, and just stay as healthy as you can. Avoid all this other shit. If you want to take vaccines, go ahead. That's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I avoid them, and I know you do too, that Brett. So just be safe. And
I don't even like taking medicine. I mean, I'll take ivermectin and stuff. I mean, I'll take the prednisone here and there. I'm okay with that. But I mean, unless I have to take an antibiotic, I don't prefer to take one, because antibiotics should only be used very sparingly, depending on what your thing is. You shouldn't have to take it if it's not necessary. I mean, there are other protocols in place to make sure that, but I mean,
and they become less effective the more you take them. So you don't.
Right. Exactly. But I'm just, I'm bewildered by the idea that, these types of scenarios pop back up and then we go through this whole nonsense all the time. And it's like, where are we right now? I mean, is anybody covering this in some way? Thank you, Thea, for the cookie. Wood USA dropping 717 gold pills. Trusty Turner for the cookie. Thank you so much. Like, share, and subscribe. You can help out Marshall. Ko-fi.com/surfdog74. And I'll play this. Marshall sent this to me. And this is it. This is the end of the show. I dropped the pills. And we should all be thankful what President Trump has now put forth. I think Greenland was a victory. When President Trump says it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So when he says Insurrection Act's coming, believe it. I don't know why anybody thinks that whatever this guy says, it's not going to happen. He told Venezuela. He gave Maduro an opportunity, even though I thought that was a theatrical cosplay in some way. And it was probably a help or not really. It was more of a rescue mission than it really was an attack. I personally think so. But when President Trump says something, when are you fucking people going to start to wake up and realize he means it? I mean, I just don't. I think NATO is waking up to the realities that they're going to be put to the side. So is the UN. So is the WEF. The EU is screwed in so many ways because of how they laid this out. And I think that the deconstruction of all these things, the dismantling of all these institutions, post-Cold War, pre-Cold War, what have you, is that we've been saddled with was all there as a parasitical, entity to suck and bleed us dry. And so that the rest of the other world contingently can be rich off our hard work and our well-being. And it's no longer going to be this way. President Trump said the $2,000 is going to go out, bifurcate Congress, so you get a check in the mail for $2,000, all these different things. When he says it's going to happen, why don't you just believe it? It's not a big deal not to believe it, but I think that all the black pillars that are out there, they want to convince you that, hey, look, nothing is happening. No one's getting arrested. You know what? When they say that everything is happening behind the scenes, why would they want to tell you what's going on? I mean, clearly they're going to arrest all these people in Minnesota that have activated in some way as seditious conspiracists to, take down federal officers, obstruct, abscond, and, take over a city. These things are not going to continue on. It's going to be the model. The governor will be arrested. The mayor will be arrested. Elements of the police force will be arrested. County commissioners, Ilhan Omar will be arrested. She'll be tied to this. Believe it. It's going to happen. It wouldn't be said if it wasn't going to happen. And people think, well, President Trump was saying something 5 years ago. Well, it's coming to fruition now. Why do you think it's not? Why do you think the hammer is not going to drop? Here we go. MAGA voice. Holy shit. Members of Congress cut a Greenland cake that has the American flag on it. Let's go.
Beautiful American flag, Greenland.
All right.
51st day.
Here we go. All right, three. Tell me when to cut.
Got it on it. All right.
Ready?
Y'all the knives ready?
Let's go.
3, 2, 1, start the.
We cut it.
Perfect.
I used to South Greenland. I'm from South Greenland. All right, here we go.
South Greenland. We're good. There you go. George.
Jürgen is from Greenland. We met him at international event, and we will be there for all the free people in the world.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
It sounds like Trump and telling him.
Is this like prom?
Free of Macron. You heard that. Free of Macron. You heard people say that.
Ooh.
I think this is another great win. Well, it's not an omen. Omen has a negative connotation to it. A harbinger of the future, less of a negative connotation, but a harbinger, a forecaster, a prognostication of what is going to happen. Yes, things are changing. The actual 20th century structures that were built in place to rob us blind are coming to an end. They're all coming to an end. We have now reasserted the new American management jurisdiction. We're asserting this. He went to Davos. He said this. His team. The globalization is over. Climate change is over. All these other things. Transgenderism is over. These people are coming to Trump and saying, yeah, I've doubled or tripled my wealth because I listened to you. I invested here. They're all seeing the light. And everybody else who can't see the light, like Macron, who's part of the Black Eye Club wearing his aviator sunglasses, his days are numbered. He's doubling down on Stupert because I believe his transgender wife is going to beat the shit out of him or kill him eventually. Ultimately, here we go. Things are changing. Minnesota structurally is going to have a revival very soon with the National Guard coming in. It's going to be fantastic. You should sit there and applaud all this stuff. Enjoy watching all this stuff. I mean, it might be target practice. Remember, these people that pretend to be American citizens are committing seditious, even treasonous acts. Because if you've taken foreign money to create this, to be agents of provocateur, changing it, subversives, brown shirts, you've violated your oath as a citizen, and you should lose any opportunity to retain that if you're arrested. And whatever's on your phone, whatever you're doing, I mean, think about how these people are. They're communists. We don't look at them as American citizens, but that's the question. Will they be stripped of their actual, their citizenship. I can't wait till we get into that discussion, Marshall, about who's going to be stripped of what, when, how is this going to play out? Are these people going to be arrested? It's just going to be amazing as we dip out here.
Well, I would say if you're a citizen of the United States, are you an American? Because there's two different things. You can be a citizen, but are you an American?
Mm-hmm.
And most of these people, like in Somalia, up there in
Yeah.
they're citizens, or some of them that are legal, but they're not American. So,
I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Thea, for the Gold Pills 2.0 here, Senior Apollo 1.8 Wood USA. Thank you guys for the leaderboard. Thank you guys for supporting the platform. Everybody participating. Help out marshallkofi.com/surfdog74. I want to thank everybody out there. We'll return on Friday. Today was a great day. You should enjoy what you're seeing because everything that you were told is actually happening. Whether you believe it or not, whether you find the time to recognize that things are moving along rather quickly, rather proficiently, whether you believe that or not, things are actually happening. And once we break away from this 20th century global new world order and realign this new American management jurisdiction, that we reset the table, because there's only enough seats at the table, everything's going to be glorious for us, for Americans and everybody else that wants to take part of this. That's our show tonight. Thanks, Marshall. Have a good night. Be well, be safe. God bless. We'll see you on Friday.